teach high school, so I kind of have that angle as well. So if you don't teach elementary, this is totally a wonderful session for you as well. We're going to talk about our student procedures, the skills that we teach students with the iPads, K2, our staff procedures, and then at the end we'll talk about a little bit some apps that we really like, and then some videos that we use in our classrooms. So again, if you're not in elementary, you'll probably need a lot from this as well. So a little bit about me. I have not always been good at technology. At times, I don't really still consider myself good at technology, but other teachers are always like, yeah, that technology is just not for me. I don't know what that is, or how to do it. So you may recognize this screen if you've ever had a see the blue screen of death. I went to Meredith College in Raleigh, and when I was there, they gave us laptops. It was part of their technology initiative, and I saw this like several times a day, every day. People in a little building where they had the IT help, they knew me by name. I would come in, hey Kelly, how's it going? What's wrong? And I'm like, blue screen of death. So I got tired of having my computer reimaged like once a week. So losing all my stuff. So I ended up going Mac. And I also had an iPad at the time. It was like one of the original ones, and I saw that little guy all the time. I don't think like that makes the case anymore, but my iPad would break. And then I would see this little sad iPad guy, so like all the time. And so my parents told me that I had a magnetic field around me, and I would like break technology things. So if you feel like you are not a technology person, like there's hope. Like you can do it. Okay. So after graduating from Meredith, I started teaching Spanish and ESL at the high school level. I taught there for a couple of years. We had what we called COWs, which are computers on wheels. So we have 4 carts in our building that we shared between about 1,200 students. And I use them a lot for, I have my students do blogs, my high school kids, with Google we use Blogger, and then they blocked it, so I had to do something different. But we use those for a long time. And then I inherited an awesome set of 30 iPod touches. So we're not called iTouches, by the way, it's iPod touch. That's one thing that I would always get over there. My kids would be like, I want to use the iTouch, and I'm like, that's not a thing, it's the iPod touch. So I had 30 iPod touches, and this was before we didn't have any sort of refrigerator or anything, so if I ever wanted to push apps to them, I would bring the big case home with me, and just play it over the weekend, so use my Wi-Fi in my apartment, which I've already to push apps to every single iPad and sync it. And then the next year, I was able to use 3 iPads that they were using for ESL. And so my kids were then making videos and doing cool things. And it was all very teacher heavy. So I would tell the kids how to do it. They would like edit it in iMovie or use whatever app. But I often was the one receiving the videos and putting them together in iMovie on my computer. Or it was just my responsibility to like edit and put it together. So it took a lot of time on my part. After I left high school, I took a job at Franklin Academy, teaching kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade Spanish and technology. So I teach Spanish in the morning and technology in the afternoon. And that last year was my first year there, and I had a set of another cow, computers on wheels. I had 30 little teeny tiny netbooks, which were a pain. They never connected to the internet. Some were like missing keys, and it looked like the kids had like rubbed boogers on them. It was terrible. And so I used them some, but I mostly used our iPad card that was in the building when the other teachers weren't using it. So that was when I really started using them and discovered some stuff about them. Also, just a side note, I teach online also with the North Carolina Virtual Public School. I started doing some course development for them in years past, and so a lot of the creation stuff that I've used was kind of influenced by that as well, because I'm really big into creation. So on the left we have Bloom's taxonomy, which is also Bloom's revised Bloom, with creation at the top. And something that I really noticed with iPads, even at the high school level, not necessarily at Franklin Academy High School, but at the other, like where I worked before, it was really not used to create with. It was really just you're replacing like paper and pencil stuff, or replace the cows on wheels, like computers on wheels. They were just using the internet to research. They weren't really using them to create anything from start to finish. And so what I really wanted to see our kids, K2 especially, was use some of these really cool apps. There's so many cool creation apps out there. To really be able to create something from start to finish And then for me, creation, a key component to that is being able to share it. And so there became this need for like the digital version of a refrigerator to hang their work on, right? So they're creating these awesome projects, but a lot of times they're not going anywhere. They're staying on the iPad. The teacher doesn't see them necessarily because the kids just created them. They stay there. So that is kind of something that became a need for us. And so on the left here, this is an awesome graphic from Kathy Shock. On the left we have blooms, and then on the right there's this Stammer. In my head I say Stammer. Stammer. The four different parts of that with using the devices. So at the top we have redefinition and modification, which in my head we need, there's obviously always room for that stuff at the bottom, and blooms is the foundation of the pyramid, right? But a lot of times it's not worth it. By the time you pass out all the iPads, pass out all the headphones, do all the things for 20 minutes to like practice math problems. Sometimes you're kind of like, I could just do a worksheet that I already have made in my file cabinet. There's no point to redo it, right? So it's kind of a fine line figuring out what you can do that's innovative and what you can do that's really going to utilize that iPad for something that couldn't have been done before. So for me, I've kind of taken it upon myself because the technology position has kind of been it's undergone some evolving from the beginning. So for me, a goal for me as a technology teacher and something that I wanted to teach our students was a workflow that they could do independently. If you think in your head about 25 kindergartners with iPads, like creating something, it probably seems a little overwhelming, and it totally is. I have been there when my lesson has flopped, and all 25 of them are like raising their hand, and they're like, what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know, let's just try again tomorrow, okay? But this is something they can do by themselves, because I don't want the great teachers and the actual teachers to feel like they're having to reinvent the wheel. And so having procedures in place to, again, alleviate reinventing the wheel with teachers. A lot of times teachers, we're like, well, it's not just using iPads. I have to teach procedures. I have to teach them how to pass them out. I have to teach them how to put them back in. I have to teach them how to turn them on, turn them off, do all that stuff. And with kindergarten versus second grade, that's something obviously you guys know with lining up, you practice over and over and over again. And going to the bathroom, we practice walking in the hallway. So of course with iPads, we're going to practice turning them on and off. So that's something I try to teach them in my class. When I see them for them when they get into their homeroom, the kids can turn them on and start, and then practice all that stuff with them. Another thing is now we have, among the 3 grades, we have 2 parts of 30 iPads, and then I have a set that I use in my technology class. And we have, I guess I want to say last year, there were probably 2 teachers that use them pretty regularly. Some teachers would wait until the last day before track out or something, have it as a reward kind of, where the kids could earn an iPad day. But really, I want to see teachers using them more for more content-rich stuff, creating start to finish. And the last thing that was really important to me was inspiring teachers to dream big, because the things that you can do with these iPads is unbelievable. And the stuff that the kids can create, it's just something that they've never done before. Saying teachers, here, I want you to dream big about what you can see your kids doing. Something crazy that you think can never happen, and I want to work with you to make that happen. So we can sit down and kind of figure out what apps we're going to use. Is it going to be sent to Google Drive? Is it going to be emailed? How is it going to work? So our workflow contains, in my opinion, 3 components. iCloud offers some things that I'm going to talk about that we use. And then Google Drive is our favorite. We love Google Drive. And then the last 2 for speakers. So those are both for staffing and students that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So just to kind of gauge where we are as a group, raise your hand if you're a teacher in the elementary level. Okay, awesome. Do we have any IT staff or media specialists? Okay, awesome. Cool. So you're good. We're ready. So iCloud is something when it first came out, I was really confused because some of my stuff was backed up on iCloud and I didn't know, it would disappear, and my contacts would go to crazy places in my phone. But basically what iCloud does, it's a cloud-based storage system for data on Apple devices. So any iOS device comes with predisposition to using iCloud. So, which is really awesome if you break your phone, your iPhone, then all you do is log into iCloud and it's already back up there and it's your old phone. It's awesome. So what we use it for in our building is content it was on all of our cards. And so what we did is we went through is we put all of the teachers' names in there. So we sorted them alphabetically by last name. I used to have the teachers' first names in there. And then kids started calling the teachers their first names. So I took this out. Because they would be like, hey, Kelly. And I'm like, this is Chaney. You're a 5. Like, you don't call me Kelly. So now it's their last name, which they know. In kindergarten, sometimes it's hit or miss whether or not the kids identify their teacher's last name. But in the app, this is a screenshot for mail, which they never actually use the mail app. It's on the iPad, they see it, they know what it looks like, but they don't ever go into the mail app to email. This would just be from another app. And so then the procedure, I'll show you how to do it. I have a video of my kids doing it too, that I can show you. So the procedure for doing that, so if they're in there, what they have to do, it shows up like this. They know they have to touch where it says 2. And then we have the plus sign with the circle that pops up, so they know they touch that. And then all they have to do is find their teacher's name. So if I want to email this, I will do that. And then for kindergarten, I make them raise their hand, and I come around and check and make sure they have the right name in there before they send. And then they push send once I've given the approval. First and second grade, I can pretty much trust them to do that on their own because they've been writing their teacher's name for a while at that point, and they know all their letters, so it's good times. I also have this email account that we have set up through Google kind of on my devices. So what I do when a class leaves, I go through the sent messages, and I just kind of like click through really quick just to make sure that they send it to the right teacher, or when they're like writing messages, I just kind of like just check, the quick check just to see like what was sent, so that if I need to like forward it to the right place, or if there's something like questionable in there, I can address it like immediately with the student. Because we have had some kids before that they're not supposed to be emailing, but they do anyways. I have to like talk to them for a minute, what are you doing? What are you supposed to do? Probably not. That sort of thing. We've also been using iCloud for photo stream, which is really cool. What you can do is you can create actually before I get into photo stream, I'll show you the video that can emailing. So what you're going to see in a second is a first grader. We write thank you notes. We were talking about what we're thankful for. So we write thank you notes, and they're emailing them to their teacher. And so he is going to find his teacher's name, and then he pauses for a second to make sure that he has the right one, because I'm videoing him, and I think he was like, oh, he was like, what do I do? But yeah, so see that. And from the app, it allows them to pick, like, to send from mail, so they don't actually go into the mail app.
What app is that for Thank You Note?
It's called Thank You Note. It's free. Yeah, and I have a slide at the end, but it's just called Thank You Note. And it has like some free notes and some easy ones. So it's just the free ones. And then he sends it, and then it sends them a little message that says email sent successfully, and none of them knew the word successfully, and so they were all freaking out because their iPad was working. And I'm like, no, guys, it says successfully. It's it. And then sometimes they're confused because they send it, but it's still there. Like, maybe it should go away. Yeah, and I'm like, no, that's it. Did you hear it? Like, so we make sure we turn this out so they can hear the shoop, so they know what it is.
Is there enough space on the iPad account for all those iPads to be shared on one account?
We think yes. Recently, storage devices are not really saving anything to iCloud. The only thing that's in iCloud are the contacts. That's the only thing that's being synced. Our email is, it's a Franklin Academy email address, but it's through Google. So Google is where we have more of the storage in the device unit.
One email set up under Google that is connected to all of them.
It's FA1 and 2 student iPads at franklinacademy.com or .org. And so we set up that email address. But we did, I'll talk about storage, but with Google Drive, we kind of ran into a device limit that Google won't tell you exists. But we ran into that, but that is easily solvable because Google Drive is really awesome. So photo stream, there's 2 aspects to photo stream. My photo stream, it takes the last 1,000 pictures of any like device associated with that iCloud account and puts it in a photo stream together. So that was really fun in 1st and 2nd grade when they learned how to take pictures for the thank you notes, because it's really good selfies because they're like on the camera around and take a picture. because all of a sudden the camera roll was like full of like little second screen selfies. Really cute. But then you can create unique photo streams to a specific topic. So I worked with a first grade teacher, like last month. They were doing plants and animals and what they need to survive. And so what she did is she made a photo stream of images that she chose that were like Creative Commons, licensed, and all that kind of stuff that the kids could choose from. And so this is not the app that they used Adobe Voice for that. But when you go to add a picture, you can add existing photo, and you can see all the different choices that you have to choose from. So the plants and animals was the one that she did. So we told them to like find plants and animals, and then those were the pictures they could choose. So that way they're not on Google, like looking up images. Adobe Voice is kind of cool because it gives you a search option within the app itself to find pictures, but all it is feeding from like the real internet. So, and it says it's filtered, but you never know. But this kind of gives you the chance to, as the teacher, to decide ahead of time which pictures they can use for a project. And so when I taught the kids how to use the app, I actually taught them in Spanish class because our technology block was 30 minutes, and that's what they show up online. So for Spanish, I was teaching them, we were counting 1 to 31 in first grade at the time in Spanish. So I just found images of numerals, like 1 through 5, 6 through 10. So the kids would do that, and then they would record themselves practicing saying it in Spanish. And so that's how we kind of used the app, and it was essentially the same thing we were going to do in Spanish class anyway. Because like I said, it would have been way more boring because we would have been writing and tally marks. So that was way cooler. I'll do that with all the classes next year. So PhotoStream has been really awesome with that. Are there any questions about iCloud or PhotoStream before we move on to Google Drive? Yes.
But all of the devices are on the same iCloud folder stream.
Yes, all of them have things. So and it's a little buggy in that you actually have to open the Photos app for the photo stream to sync. You only have to approve it on a device, but we have 90 devices on the same account. And so I think, I don't know if we're necessarily pushing like iCloud to the limit, but it makes you like open the photo app, and then once you open photos, it syncs on a particular device. Which is a little time consuming on the teacher end. But if they're working, like while they're working, you can just come around really quick and tell them what to do. Especially older kids, like they can do it. It's just with first grade, you learn to do kind of like do it yourself or preset it. So with Google Drive, it's a cloud-based storage system for data on virtually any device. So it's got a computer component that's web-based. You can download the app on iPads. You can download the app on iPhone. So really, like when I'm checking what kids are sending or what's on their Google Drive folder, I'm usually checking it on my phone. So I have multiple Google accounts, so I just like log into the student one. Like I just flip it over to the student one really quick, just to kind of check and see what's in there. Because they recently, like they're so sneaky, they started writing notes to each other in whiteboard. And we learned how to do screenshots. They would take a screenshot and then put it in friends folder instead of their own. So they were like, texting. I'm like, this is texting. This is first grade texting right now. So the high school teacher in me is like, oh gosh, these kids. They never changed. First grade, 10th grade, it's all the same. So it does require an email address. So that same email address we have set up on the cards is the same one that we set up in Google Drive. We did find that at some point they were logging out of Google Drive. So like we have them all logged in, so that when the kids use it, they can immediately log in and use it. So at some point, we don't know at what point exactly, they were logging them out. So we experimented and created 2 additional Google email addresses. We have the K2 technology cart, it's like K2 tech, which is now the one that we log into Google Drive with my set. And then we have an FA1 cart, FA2 cart. And so we have in our kindergarten building, which is FA1, they're logged in with the FA1 email address into Google Drive. And then the second building is logged in with the other email address. But Google Drive is so awesome. All I had to do on my computer was share the folder with those 3 email addresses. And then you had to open up the app and like click add drive like on one of the iPads. And all of the folders appeared immediately in Google Drive for that device. So it's essentially no different. It doesn't matter what account they're logged into, as long as they have the rights to edit and to add, and there's essentially no difference. So that was luckily that was a really easy fix, because I feel like a lot of this stuff, it's like one thing goes wrong and it blows your whole plan. But that was luckily a really easy fix for Google Drive. But I will tell you, every time I Google Drive updates, I like panic a little bit on the inside because I'm like, what if I change something? I don't use it. So you can documents, spreadsheets, all that good stuff on Google Drive, and all we use it for is like storage for photos and videos. That's all we use it for. And the kids know that the camera roll is where they get their stuff from. So when they save it to the iPad, they know it goes to the camera roll, and that's what they touch when they're uploading to find it. And usually they have just completed it, so it's always the last thing in the camera roll for them. And so I have a video of a student. He is uploading a video he made in Telegami to Google Drive, to his Google Drive folder. He's in first grade. I get really excited. So it's like super easy. There's no words really. Upload, we talk about the word upload and how it's a fancy word for like put. And so we kind of go through the process as a class. So it's okay, what's the first thing we do? And then we say, open Google Drive, and then we push. What do we push at the top? And they're like, oh, it's fine. And we talk about how to map, like you add, so it's like adding. So it's really intuitive. And a lot of apps use the plus sign, like when it comes to ads. So it's like a totally transferable skill that I've seen them when we do a new app, we're like, oh, it's just a Google Drive. And then when we touch up to that, and they say camera roll, and then camera roll, and then it zeros at the very top, and very bottom, very bottom. And then we have little check, big check, and then once you see it, like the thing at the bottom go all the way across, they know it's done and they can close it out. And then if they like finish whatever assignment in big time, they're just going to do like free draw or something in the app. And so this is just kind of what it looks like on their view on the app. So we have first, second grade, kindergarten. And then this quarter and last quarter, I did a little 6-week technology club after school for an hour on Wednesdays, where I tried out a bunch of stuff just to see how it works with a smaller group before trying it with a bigger group. And so they pick their grade. And then within the grade folder, this is the second grade folder, they pick their teacher's name, their homeroom teacher. And so our school, we switched for reading and math, but they have their like science and social studies and stuff with their homeroom teacher. So I set it up that way so that they always knew, no matter what class I'm in, I'm putting it in my homeroom teacher's folder and finding my name. And so then in their teacher's name or teacher's folder, I have every kid has their own folder, and I don't use first and last names for like privacy reasons and all that good stuff. We were kind of running into with accelerated reader, the kids were screenshotting where they had met their goal on the AR, like on the AR app, and putting it in their folder. And then it turned out that was like a big no-no because that has like confidential information in it. So I had to go back through and every folder and delete their AR screenshots. So just be careful because this link is immediately shared with parents. So when we send out newsletters, we send out a link, and we link it to the main page where they can see all their kids, or I guess it's by grade, so they can see every grade's folder. So in theory, parents could look at other kids' folders and see stuff. And you could password protect them, but then you need to have a person that like manage that. We don't really have anybody to do that. I'm a business. And then this is a second grader's folder. So a lot of the stuff we do right now is just drawing. But so we did like in Spanish class, we did a Padlet of our family, like our family members, we do like a family and stuff. And we teach them how to screenshot, so then anything is an image immediately saved to the camera roll. And then up there, they were using it in math class to do fractions. Up at the very top, they were using it to do fractions. And then they were talking about, in their science class, like water cycles, they were like drawing pictures and stuff, putting it in there. Okay, this is just one photo. So there's like a variety of stuff. I've only had one other teacher, homeroom teacher. We started doing this in like, it was really like September, I think, before we got it like really going. And I've only had really one homeroom teacher like run with it. And she's used it in like all of her classes, and she'll have kids take pictures of their math worksheets and do their math worksheet on the iPad and then put it in Google Drive. And then when they turn in their paper, they just write iPad at the top, and so she checks their Google Drive folder to grade it. And then we'll like write whatever feedback she has on their own paper. So I mean, it's like a little extra stuff, but the kids really like it. And it's kind of cool to see them like on their own. They have a choice. They can either do it on paper or do it on the iPad, and they choose to do it on the iPad sometimes. So our student procedures.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you saying that these folders, they can sign in and learn through technology class, but they can also have those
like created kindergarten, first, second grade, and so any iPad that is logged in to that account can see it, which has been really awesome. Yeah.
Did you make all of the student folders, or did homeroom teachers do that? Or?
I originally asked the homeroom teachers to do it, but it was really low on their priority list, and I kind of wanted it to be done, so I did it myself. But it really, like, it was really fast. From that app, it takes longer to do it, just because the nature of typing to me is a little bit slower on the iPad. But from the computer, it's super fast. You just do folder name, and then it's cool too because if like I missed a kid or something, they say, oh, my name's not there. So on any iPad in the classroom, I can add the folder and type it in, and it immediately showed up on everyone's iPad.
And how many classes do you have in each grade level?
We have 5 in each, so there's 15 total. But it's something that's so easy that the homeroom teachers could easily do it. It would just, they were just like, it was the beginning of the year, and they were busy, so I'm like, oh, I'll just do it. It's fine.
Yeah, you mentioned that the folders are available for all the parents to see all the students' work.
Yes.
Have you had a parent complain about that yet?
The only parent responses I've actually gotten is, I keep checking my kid's folder and there's nothing in there. Like, are they doing what they're supposed to do? Because I don't see anything in there. But I think, I'm not sure who caught like our AR thing. I don't know if it was an administrator or if a parent mentioned it. But it was, I can see every kid's AR thing about posting a folder. So to me, I think like long term, what would be really neat for this is if we did password protect the folders where the parent has a password and the teacher obviously has a password. So that we could really put like stuff in there that is important. So I was in Nick Holmes' session yesterday. He was talking about how they will email it, like they'll take a picture of the doc scan of a assignment a kid needs to redo. So I'm like, you could just like do that. That could be an actual portfolio of their actual work, remediation or otherwise that they're working on.
So you're sending the link to the parents? Mm-hmm. They don't have the Google Drive login.
No, they do not have a login. They just have a link. So what you do is you have to set the privacy settings so I have anyone with link can view. And I tell them that when I send it out. I'm like, anybody with this link can see it, so feel free to share it with grade parents or aunts, uncles, whatever. And then I also send out a screencast on how to download the stuff that's in there, so that because the end of the year we're going to have wipe it clean for the next school year. And put like start over, essentially new teachers, new kids, whoever, whatever the next year brings. And so that way they can like some of the videos that they send are really cool. So like they kind of like these stuff or whatever. But, so I don't know. I feel it feels kind of uncharted in terms of privacy wise.
So right now, if you needed to password protect all those folders, that would be a lot of work.
It would. Oh, there definitely needs to be like a person whose job that is to do that because there's at most 25 kids per class, 15 classes. That's just K2. So this is something we only do K2 right now. It's not moves 35 or 6-8. So.
But you said it's new, so you haven't experienced just taking the folder with the child to the next grade yet.
I'm not. We could do that. That's possible. But then you run into that's when the storage limit kind of creeps up because I want to say with the education it's 10 things like that.
I can see that our inclusive classrooms, the parents would not want to have that open.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. But really, the teachers that use it the most are specialist teachers. Like our music teacher does a lot of videos, and so she makes in the grade level folder she'll do music projects, and then she puts them all in there. So it's stuff I would say that's more like fun, like project stuff. Yeah, like we have to do in the hallway. It's the refrigerator essentially is what you're. That's
Not private stuff. It shows
Yeah.
reflection of their abilities.
Right, absolutely.
Stuff that they put in the backpack.
It's more like how well can they color on the iPad? Like how well can they write these big words? That's right.
And I think that would be friendly displayed in the classroom.
Right.
Exactly.
If you password protected it, would the students have to put in a password to get into their file?
They would, and we have 2 things at our campus right now. We use accelerated reading for minors and password. The kids have a username and a password. And at the beginning of the year, they get like a little card with their username and password. Kindergarten, they don't always remember. First grade, they try to get them to be more independent with it because they're expected to do those quizzes independently on the iPad. And in 2nd grade, they all know their stuff pretty well. And then our technology curriculum also requires a password as well. And so what I did, it's their username is their name, they just pick their name, they change it from their secret code, is what we call it. Most kids do it, but it's short, it's like 3 letters or 3 numbers. processes that we have going on, for sure. All right, so student procedures. I talked a little bit at the beginning about kind of teaching the kids the procedure so that the younger teachers don't have to. So hopefully at your schools you have a technology teacher. If you don't, there could be a special teacher that maybe agrees, like, hey, like, of course I'll teach them how to use that card. But if it's somebody that the kids visit at least once a week, or once, like, every class will get to, I think that's a great way to kind of get all the kids in one fell swoop. So they're learning the same things, so it's consistent across. So we have our rules, which I'll show up in a minute. We call them promises, because we have a lot of rules. So I tried to be a little nicer with my rules. But then I'm always like, what's our rules? So I don't know a lot of promises. iPad numbers, this is a big thing, having our kids assigned a number. This is awesome, so that way if they're doing a project that they don't finish in one class period, it's on that iPad when they come back the next time. Also, in terms of damages, if for some reason an iPad was cracked, or there was like something questionable on there, you have a smaller pool of kids that could be responsible for that. And then this year we ordered headphones. For our classes, we ordered, there's a place called the Library Store, and they sell a big toolbox of 500 earbuds individually packaged. It was like really cheap. I want to say it was like less than $200 for all of these. They were like super cheap, and they are super cheap made, so they all have already started falling apart. It's not working anymore. But that's something that we had just because, especially for language, a lot of the apps I use for Spanish, I want the kids speaking and I want them recording themselves speaking and practicing that vocabulary. And it's a nightmare when you have, like, even when they're working in pairs, 12 iPads out and they're recording all talking, you can't even hear what the kids are saying because of all the background noise. So we have been playing with that. And then just working on passing out and cleaning up procedures. Like how do we get them out of the cart, how do we get them back in the cart, that sort of thing. So a few things that I have in place. Up at the top I have iPad times. So every homeroom class, whenever we pass out the iPads and clean them up, I time them. And so voices are totally off during this because I'm like calling out iPad numbers and kids are telling me their iPad number. So I'm like giving them the right one and getting the right one back. And then if I have to tell them more than once to turn their voices off, I add a minute to their time. So their time gets bigger, bigger, bigger. And obviously it takes them longer sometimes to stop and be like, okay, Brian, stop talking, Brian, stop talking. And then at the end of the quarter, whichever class has the shortest time, they get a special banner to hang outside their classroom. And they're like all about that banner because it has an iPad on it. And they're like, where do you get the banner? Like, where do you be super quiet? And so I just kind of keep track of it. Kindergarten still, we're halfway through the year, they don't get it, they don't care. They're like, whatever, why does she write those numbers on the board? They don't, I explained it several times, but they don't understand the banner yet. But first and second grade, they're hardcore. Like, I've had a second grade class that was like, in under a minute, well, like, everyone's listening, walking feet, two hands, carrying the iPads, like clockwork, like, to getting back in their seats. It's kind of awesome to see how quickly they take it. For me, I like it because I have no concept of time at all as a person. So I'm like, does this take 5 minutes or does it take 4? I have no idea. So for me, it's like, I know which classes it takes them longer. So it kind of helps me know what time I need to start the cleanup process. And it kind of helps me to like improve as a teacher in terms of like getting those transitions down to a timely fashion. But usually kindergarten's in the 3-minute range. First grade's in the 2-minute range, and then second grade tends to be in the 1 to 2-minute range with that. And then with our headphones, I brought some today. How we store them. Because we switched for reading and math, I haven't been able to have the kids use their headphones in those classes yet, but for their homeroom when they do science and social studies, they will borrow their class set of headphones. So every kid has their own set, and it's in a little Ziploc bag that has their name on it. They're not. That is one thing that I just haven't been able to figure out how to get them out into that. And then they also have their little card in there for technology class with their secret code on there. And then what I do in my classroom, I have them sitting by table, and so I have them organized by table. So this is the orange table the orange table for this particular class. And then all the kids that sit at the orange table, their headphones go in this bag, and then we have special jobs, which I'll come back to the rules. We have special jobs every day them out, and then they collect them, and then that way only having 5 kids bringing me headphones at the end of class. And then I have a big gallon bag, that's their class bag, and then I store them in those big crates right there, they're labeled. So in that crate, there's 5 passes for the headphones in there. Setting up the bagging thing really only took like 1 day, like 1 class period. Like I handed them all back, and I had already written out the labels, which the older kids, they could write their own labels, but I just did it because I'm kind of, I don't know, it was the first time I did it, so I wanted to make sure it was legible. But it really only took like that first week of school. It was like the first week we did technology classes. We talked about the iPad rules, we passed out headphones, we talked about how to take care of headphones. That's what we did.
I have those special earbuds from little ears.
They are not expensive, plus they're a little hard. They're like, they don't fit. I'm like, I didn't think about adult sizes and kid sizes. So that's another thing. Last year I had a class set, like 25 of over the ear earbud headphones. We have lice a lot, I feel like. I don't know, that's pretty normal for elementary school. I went to high school where no one ever had lice. But I feel like every day it's like, I get an email, I'm doing a lice check. And I'm like, I just was kind of in that, because I see all the kids twice a week. So I was just like, oh, that's not good for them to be sharing the over-the-head headphones. So I thought it was important to order their own. So last year, I emailed parents halfway through the year and told them they could send in a pair of headphones from home. And so I would say the most I had in a single class was maybe 10 kids that brought in their own. And they stayed with me in the classroom all year, and then I sent them home at the end of the year. I just told the parents, like, put them in a Ziploc bag with their name and their teacher, and they did. And that worked out fine, but I mean, some kids, I had less than 5 this year that had brought in their own that they want to use because they said that these for 3 years and they're not cool. And that's another thing, like getting them, we had to practice, getting them in their ear. I'm like, you just gotta push them in there, like just stick it in there. So that's another thing that's been kind of a challenge, is the earbuds. I think the over the ear one is more age appropriate, but cost-wise, we just couldn't afford to outfit that many kids. So there's different ways you can do it. And I originally, before I ordered headphones, I thought about having the kids bring in their own and storing them, and then just asking for technology parents, like to volunteer, because we do lunch periods at our school. We don't have a cafeteria, so the kids eat in their classroom, and there's lunch periods that come, and volunteers watch the class during lunch. So I thought about just piggybacking off of that and asking them to stay for 30 minutes for technology class and just helping with all the headphones and stuff. But then I was able to order those, so we're going to try that and see how it went. So, I mean, it's been good. Just the kids know the drill, they know the procedures. But especially for kindergarten, not too much. But we did have an interesting, we had our community helper day recently, and we had a parent from Red Hat come, and he donated headphones, really nice, noise canceling Red Hat headphones to the kids. So I plan to email him to see if there are more things they could donate for next year, so that potentially we don't have to purchase them. And that never occurred to me to ask for donations, but I think there's probably going to be people that would donate. So our iPad promises, so these are our rules, and these are all on the Edmodo page, and they're on my website as well. And then I'm going to email, or I'm going to send this out to the Edmodo page as well, so we'll have them in there. But these are pretty much what we used the year before, which I found, oh gosh, I should tell you where I found them. I found them, I'll have to look that up, not just at Edmodo, but there's a 2nd grade blogger out there, and she had these awesome rules that were already made, these awesome posters that she already made with super cute clip art. And I was kind of in a work smarter, not harder moment in my life at that time. So I borrowed them, and I used them all year, and they were great. But the only one that was not in there that we added was raising your hand if you have a problem or a question, because all 25 of them would come to me at the same time carrying their iPad, and they're like, raise your hand. And then staying in your seat while using the iPad, because they're like, oh, look, I did a whiteboard. I want to go show my friends. And then they just show them. And you're like, no, do that. So those are the 2 we added. The rest are from that lady, and I'll probably say her blog is on. And she has them in Spanish too. If you have kids that speak Spanish, she has the same.
Those are on Edmodo.
They're not yet, but they will be. I'm going to put them there yet. But this is on there, but not the original one. Not one of yours are better, because they're super cool. And again, just the way I've chosen to set up my classroom is has their iPad number on their desk, and then a shape and a color. So the color is the table where they sit. The iPad number is the number that they use. And what we've had this year, actually, which is really cool, a lot of the homeroom teachers have adopted the desk number thing, since they rotate for reading and math so often because they're reassessing and moving them to different levels. So the kids know, like, whatever seat they're in and whatever class, what number that is, that's the iPad they use in that classroom. So that when you get the card, all you have to say is like 1 through 10. And the kids that have 1 through 10 on their desk, they can get their iPad. So it might change, like, their iPad number in technology might be 4, and they might be 27 in a different class. But they know, like, where to look for that number and where to find it. And it's been really awesome, too, because that way if there's, like, an issue with an iPad, like, I know exactly which kid, who it is, like, whose iPad it is. Alright, so technical skills that I teach the kids, K2 with the iPads. The first thing we talk about is the anatomy of the device. And so we pretend that our iPad and our belly button is our home button. And then we go to our head and we have our headphones, and we have our power button. And then over here where our ear is our volume button. And so it's kind of awesome to watch them try to, like, remember. Because I tell them if they're confused, because they lose track of the device. Like they're on there, and I'm like, okay, it's on the top, and they're like, the top? Like, which side is the top? So we talk about keeping the home button near our belly button, and then that's kind of their reference. So if they get lost and they're like trying to like, I can't remember where the volume is, like put the home button where your belly button is, and then find like all the other stuff. And so that's really fun. I really want to make up a song about the iPad. I'll show them next year. I'll have a creation. And then so we teach them how to power it off, K2. That is mostly because the Wi-Fi in our campus can be a little temperamental. And we found that when iPads were on and not being used, they were stuck in the Wi-Fi. And then our Apple TVs weren't connecting, and like people could check their email. So now we have a firm, like when you're not using them, the iPad is off rule. I teach them how to turn the volume up and down at the beginning. And then I teach them the skill, and then they might get to like free play that day, but I'll walk around at each table and I'm like, okay, show me that you can turn the volume up and down every day. And I'll watch them all, they'll find the button, turn it up and down. And in second grade, we teach them how to do the swipe from the bottom. I think that's really cool. It's like, we call it the secret swipe. And adjust the volume that way. So if you just like swipe up and adjust the volume there, instead of trying to find the button, they really like that. Second graders can play with it work stuff secretly. And then again with the headphones, plugging them in, you have to push it until it clicks. Because sometimes they plug it in a little bit and you can still hear it, so we push it until you hear the click. And if you don't hear the click, unplug it and plug it back in until you hear the click. And then the storage procedures for that. First and second grade, we do screenshots. And this is like a quick fix for any app that you're in. If they've created something, some sort of visual, anything, you can screenshot it. So hold down the power button and the power button. So if you hold down the power button, the home button, it flashes and it saves it to the camera roll, and it's always the last one. So a lot of times we're like, it's just part of our process for that day. It's finish your thing, screenshot, upload to Google Drive, you're done. So those are your steps for the day. And then what this, I do give them the chance at the end of the quarter, the last thing of the quarter that they can use technology, we do free iPad day. And so they'll play like a game or whatever, and then you'll look in their Google Drive folder and they have screenshots of like the game. So we have this one Lego game and it's just like the whole thing. They're like, oh, I got a medal, screenshot. Oh, I got a new Lego, screenshot. And their folder's full. It's kind of fun. But it's kind of cool because I don't tell them to do that. They just already want to like, I want to show my mom what's cool Lego I got, you know? And so we teach them also gestures and multitasking and troubleshooting. So a lot of times, especially with free apps, which we often use in education because they're free, they are buggy. So there might be an issue with it. So what we've learned how to do is double tap the home button, and then it makes all your apps small, and then you swipe up to close it out, and then reset it. And this is actually come in handy because that technology curriculum we're using this year is brand new, and so the app is really buggy and it like freezes all the time. And so the kids have learned like, oh, it's frozen, all I have to do is double tap to close it out. And then the thank you note app the other day, they couldn't figure out how to make a new thank you note. And one girl was like, all you have to do is close it out and then it'll start it over. I was like, yeah, that is all you have to do. She was in first grade and she figured that out totally on her own. from our other IT guy the other day, that if you do 4 fingers and put it on there and slide up, it does the same thing, which is easier, especially for the kindergarten fingers and first grade fingers, because they always can't like push the whole button fast enough at like the right, I guess, tempo to make it do that. So I teach K2 how to send email from apps, and the list of apps I'll show you in a minute. I have those dedicated which ones are from email. And then the Google Drive upload, we've done with first and second grade so far. Not with kindergarten yet. My plan, ideally, would be third quarter for them. I'm going to get maternity leave in third quarter, so I don't think we're going to get to it this year. So first grade, I might just have to teach them like initially, but I really think third quarter, fourth quarter will be the sweet spot for kindergarten and the Google Drive upload. It's just so there's several steps that are in that process. And so at this point, I don't know that they could do that. Some staff procedures to think about when using the card. So, and these are things like if they're not established at your school already, I would encourage you to start conversations with your administrator or whoever's kind of in charge of this. Figure out how do you reserve the card. Is it like paper pencil? Is there a calendar on the card itself that you can sign up for? Whenever we use the house, here's what we also have a physical calendar. At our campus before, they used a Google Calendar before, like the actual Google Calendar web app. I don't think it worked well because shortly after they did a Sign Up Genius. The Sign Up Genius is fine, but we had people that were only wanting to use like 5 or 6 iPads, like for centers or something, so they didn't want to reserve the whole cart. So we have since moved to a Google spreadsheet, a template that I've created, where it just kind of has like the day and the quarter and then the hours of the day across the top. And then teachers can write in the cell how many they're going to use and why. And then we have like a little note section at the bottom. So if there's one that they notice there's a problem in it, they can document it there, but they know that they should put it to help us to get some of that fixed. Requesting apps. So there's a K-12 form. Well, there was a form that they used at the high school for requesting apps. And we asked at our campus if we could have something similar, so they just opened that up to us as well. And it goes straight to our IT staff. And really, we only request, at this point in time, free apps. If it's a paid one, it has to be budgeted for like in the future. And those are usually pushed at the beginning of the year. But if something comes up mid-year, there's just a job pro form that they fill out, and it goes to our IT staff and our administrators, and then they're added to the cart. So maintenance. So whose job is it to plug in all the iPads? Our campus need to turn them off and don't plug them in unless the battery is less than 20% or it's a Friday and they charge over the weekend. That's kind of what we found worked best time-wise because it takes so much time to like get them back in the cart and plug them all in. So I found it was faster for the teacher if they could just, the kids power them off and put them back in the right slot and then you're done. You don't have to worry about like maintenance necessarily. But we do have a person assigned to each cart in our campus that their job on Fridays is just to check and make sure they're all plugged in. Cleaning is something, I don't know whose job that is. I don't know. I've started recently Clorox wiping the outside of the cases because of all the germs and nasty things that are living alive and well in our kids. But having someone who's like assigned to that task, or if it's the technology tutor, if it's the kids, obviously you don't want to put any sort of chemical on the iPad itself, but at least cleaning the cases is something to think about. Setting up apps for use. This is something, the things that are at the bottom that are italicized are things that we're still working on at our campus, for sure, because this is all very new. So setting up the iPads for use. So Adobe Voice, for example, it requires an account that you have to log in on. We were using a shared photo stream, so we had to open up photos to sync the photo stream to the thing. So I set up 12 of them, and it took my entire planning period to just set up 12. And so if I wanted to use all 30, that's like another hour somewhere that I would have to find to sit down and set up all the iPads. So we're kind of in this area of like the more teachers use them, like is it the teacher's job to set it up, or is it IT staff, or like how much of this can we do like when the kids are in the classroom, like how much do we want to preset? So just kind of like think about those things, like those aspects when you're working on using the cart. Because a lot of times I think if you just start the conversation, someone will be like, oh, I'll do it, like no problem, or oh, here's a really easy fix for that. Help desk. So having a ticket system in place. We have a ticket system with our campus. We don't have an IT person in our building, but he works at the, we have 4 or 5 buildings. He's at the 3 and 4 building. but we put in our help desk because he comes to us to fix stuff. But it's always something too that it's like, well, what's the timeline? Like, I need this like tomorrow, or like, are you coming next week? So just kind of keeping those lines of communication open. And then sharing of resources. So I feel like with the iPad part, it's not supposed to be stingy as a teacher. If you learn something, like, there needs to be some place where you can share that with another teacher, because it's just, there's so many variables. And it could be a problem that you're having with something that someone else has already resolved. So the more that you can share with each other. So these are all things that we're still working on in our business for sure. All right, so now for the goodies. I like apps. So all these are creation apps. So I have a little key over here. So if it has the little star beside it, there is a free version and a paid version. We use the free one and it works just fine. I'm sure the paid version is great. The free one works awesome. If it's italicized, you can only, or I guess not only, but you can export the product via email. So little story creator is the first one down. It's really awesome. It's a really super easy. It's designed for younger kids to create. They can put in a picture, they can put in a video, they can narrate, they can add stickers, they can draw on it, and it exports really easily via email. And then the blue and the bold means you save whatever it is that they created to the camera roll, which we like because we can put it on Google Drive. For me, emailing is great, but that still makes it the teacher's responsibility to share it and do something with it at that point. Whether it's put it on their website, email it to parents, however you choose to share it. I really am pro like save to the camera roll so the kids can go ahead and share it and that piece is done and it doesn't create extra work for the teacher at the end. Because I've been there where you have 125 little emails from little kids and they're linked and you're like, okay, so I'm going to embed all these into my website. It's going to be fun. So it's just kind of one of those things. And then these are ones that we've used either with kids in class or with technology clubs. So they're ones I've used with students before and it's all been quite successful. So these are creation apps that I like that they haven't used yet in class with me. Hopefully they use something as well. Explain Everything is one that I found when I was doing course development for NCPS because I wanted somewhere I could create interactive presentations and then save it to the camera roll. So I had the actual file and it wasn't just an embed through a third-party site. I really like it. It's really awesome. It is a little complicated, so K2, I don't know how well it would work. I feel like second grade probably could do a good job with it. The younger grades, maybe not. It might have too many options. Screenshot is free. I don't know how things are shared through Screenshot. I like created stuff in it and I use it as a whiteboard sometimes. And you can share it and it says your link was shared. But I'm like, wait, where was it shared? I don't know. Sonic Pics is one I discovered recently. They can make really easy slideshows where they can upload a picture from a photo stream, something they've created, like a screenshot they've created, they can upload from the camera roll, and narrate it, and save it as, and they can save it to the camera roll, the video, the final product. But it is $1.99, so I won't have this on our cards or anything. I want to request it for next year though, because it's really, and it's super easy. It's like plus sign, and then the little like share symbol, like it's just super easy. Educreations is awesome, and that is not a typo. If you want the full version of Educreations, that is $100. I bet it's magical, I bet it's amazing, but I'll not let you provide it. And Adobe Reader is one that we started using as teachers to annotate PDFs when teachers were doing their data. But it is really user-friendly as well, it's really simple. And so my next thing for next year, I think what I'm going to try to work on is emailing something like a PDF to the kids, like an email account, having them open it in some sort of annotator like Adobe Reader, complete it, and then upload it to Google Drive is my goal for next school year. I'm not going to be able to do that this year. But so if you know a really easy like PDF annotator that kids could use, let me know. Because I've been hunting and scouring for one. And then just some goodies to think about the things that you can use with the iPads that we've used this year. Obviously headphones are a big one. We got some, or these were already in my closet actually, headphone splitters. So you plug it in and it creates two jacks so that the kids can share and things. I found this to be helpful because it kind of, you can still hear the background noise, like the other kids were putting their project to, but it really helps kind of make the kids' voice forefront. So even though you hear the background noise, you can still hear them as well. Styluses, these were hand-me-downs. I want to say from like last year's Outback conference, and then I just asked if I could have them. And the IT had them. But anyways, the kids love them, and they're kind of cheap. Sometimes the little ball falls off, so you just kind of have to roll with it. We talk about how they're cheap. What does cheap mean? And kids are like, it doesn't cost very much money. And I'm like, well, sometimes when these are cheap, but that also means it breaks. And I'm like, yep, these are cheap. And then Clorox wipes for cases, not on the actual iPad, but just to keep the cases around the receiver. Get sanitizer. We do that before and after the iPads. It used to be before. We used to clean hands to make sure we don't have germs on our hands. Reality is, those kids sneeze on the iPad while they're using it. They get excited and spit when they, it's just, so now we sanitize when we come in and when we leave. And if I don't know if you remember from the jobs board, I have a kid that is sanitizer at their table, and I have 5 things of sanitizer at the back of the room. They go get one, take it to their kid, give everyone a little squirt, and then put it back. And then at the end of class, after we clean up, they do the same thing. So hopefully that will happen. Ziploc bags, I got snack bags, sandwich bags, and gallons. Snack for individual headphones, sandwich for the, or cord probably better, for the table, and then gallon for the class. And we talk about those procedures, I mentioned this before. We talk about swishing the air out before we sit. That is a key element. Otherwise, it's like popping balloons everywhere. And microfiber cloths for wiping the iPad screens. That's really the only thing you can use to clean the screen. I do it like once a quarter, just to give everyone a good wipe. And in my head, I was telling myself germs are going away, but I'm really probably just rubbing them in deeper. All right, any questions about anything? Oh, a lot. We're quite close to 12. Oh, it is 11:59. So there's my name. And I have my teacher website, it's kellychaney.com, and I made a little side page /iPads where I'm also going to be putting stuff. I've also put a little, I don't do a lot of companion activity sheets with my iPad activities. I'm going to try to start doing that in the future. But I have one there enough for Puppet Pals that I did, and it kind of has the kids playing it, which characters are going to use, which backgrounds are going to use, beginning, middle, and end, what's the type of their story. And then on the back of the sheet, I have kind of the process for putting it on Google Drive. Because Puppet Pals, you save it twice, and then do that. And that's my email address, and I'm on Twitter, and then that's the Adobe code for our session. Any questions on anything? Or any success stories with your card that you can share? Yeah.
I just want to mention that app Sketch. We use that at K5.
Yeah. Is that a PDF?
Yeah, PDF and
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we use that quite a bit.
And it works for elementary?
Yeah, we use it at K5. Yeah.
I want to say I downloaded it, but it's not. Is it free? It is free. It's called what? Sketch. Yeah. What else is Sketch? S-K-I-T-C-H. I downloaded there's a companion for it for the computer, right? Is how it works?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, but there was one I was looking at. I thought it was good. I was like, it's going to be the winner, but for some reason.
Yeah, we used a lot with 3rd and 4th grade, but not necessarily K2, but I think it definitely be, first and second grade. K's always an anomaly. They're always a little
We use Google Calendar for the checkout process for the cart, and we really like it.
It works well.
So we have 2 Google Calendars, one for each cart. I mean, they've got them on their phones, they've got them everywhere they go. I would never use a piece of paper anymore because obviously if you're at home and you want to plan, you can't even see if it's checked out at that time.
When somebody only wants 5 and somebody else wants 10.
We just put our name, the subject, and how many they want. And so if you wanted at that same time, you would count down, oh, these guys have 5, these guys have 8, there's 12 left, I'll take the last 12.
There has to be something I'm doing wrong with my schedule because it won't let you. You get the email back of no, it's already been reserved, and they only have 4 in there, and I know there's 20 more.
Talking about Google Calendar. So there's no email, it's just look, everybody's.
Well, I receive an email back once I log into when I go to.
Yeah, but you can see the whole calendar when you go to Google Calendar.
So do the teachers all have editing rights to that calendar? So
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that's the only thing it is.
That's where we do.
Yeah, yours probably says one.
Our personal calendar, add an event, and then they add a room, so that we can't change,
Right.
accidentally delete somebody.
Yeah, well, we just have auditing rights for them, just for that one
That's right.
calendar. It's just for that one card. You know, so there might be only 5 teachers sharing that card and,
Yeah.
you know.
But yeah,
We use a website called teamup.com
uh-huh.
for scheduling, and it doesn't require any logins, it doesn't require Google account, not all our teachers have that, so it's called teamup.com, and you can have, we have 3 different cards in computer lab, so we have a different color code for each one, and then all of them can be shown on one calendar, or you can filter and say, I only want to see calendar for X card or Y card. And it doesn't require any logins, so that's cool.
Same, yeah, it sounds exactly the same.
Yeah, our email addresses are through Google, so it's just kind of